Good evening. As usual, we'll wait just a minute or so to let anyone participating in the Zoom meeting join. Thank you. I call this meeting of the South Whitby School Board to order. We will begin, as always, with our land acknowledgement. Director Jackson.
Thank you. We gather, live, and learn on Indigenous land. This land is the present day and ancestral home of the Coast Salish people. This is Snohomish land. This region was stewarded and is stewarded for generations by the many tribes of the Coast Salish, by the Suquamish, the Stillaguamish, the Lower Skagit, the tribes currently affiliated with the Tulalip tribes. The Indigenous histories of this place are woven through what we experience today, and without Indigenous presence, this land would not be what it is, the society would not be what it is, and our students would not be nearly as rich in educational opportunity. So thank you, as always, for the opportunity to speak, and I offer my sincere recognition to the Indigenous communities of this region and beyond. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Jackson. Of note, this is a business meeting. There will be one opportunity for public comment after the presentations before new business. And if you would like to speak in person, please sign up with Ms. McCarr on the back. If you would like to speak from the Zoom meeting, please use the Q&A function to note your name and location, and then start typing up the comment you'd like read. Are there any objections to approving the agenda and minutes as presented? Hearing none, the agenda and minutes are approved as presented. Are there any objections to approving the consent agenda as presented? Hearing none, the consent agenda is approved as presented. We'll move on to our presentations tonight. We have one presentation by Principal Susie Richards on our highly capable learners presentation.
Thank you, sir. Good evening, everyone. It's my pleasure to talk tonight about our highly capable learners program. Tracy McKnight, who leads our program, kind of joked with me that she did not inherit Carter's genes in terms of his love of speaking in front of adults. And so she put a number of these slides together, but asked if I could present. So that is why I am speaking versus Tracy this evening. Next slide, please. I want to first start by introducing our team, and we meet multiple times per year as we continue to make sure the program is meeting the needs of our students. Tracy McKnight has done an incredible job of being the on-the-ground person working with our students, grades 3 through 8th. Lindsay DeMotts is our highly capable certificated teacher, and she provides guidance and support and is a part of our team. Erin Gutzmer and Sonia Rungsred are our secondary and elementary school psychologists who are involved in the testing. Well, specifically, Erin does the testing here at the elementary, but Sonia is a part of our team. And then I provide support and work with OSPI to make sure we're in compliance and do all the things that we need to do. Next slide, please. So we have a total of 63 students in our HCL program. That's about 5.73%. That's really close to what the state projects us to have. And in terms of our funding, we're very well aligned with that percentage. These is kind of a breakdown of the students that Tracy sees. Once a week at the elementary school, the students are extremely excited on HCL Day because they get to do so many cool things. Same once a week for an hour, 13 students at the middle, and then the 7th and 8th also middle school and about 13 students. It was pretty exciting this year. We, a number of girls, more girls than we've ever had, qualified in second grade in particular, which was really, really cool. Next slide, please. So here's a little quick overview of our 3rd through 5th grade program. Lots of robotics. And it's very much directed by what the students are interested in. That's how Tracy takes the program and runs with it, is getting the input from the students and what they're really interested in exploring. I don't speak a lot of this language, so don't ask me any specific questions about what Python block coding is. We'll have to get back to Tracy on that. But really it's that engineering and building and coding is just, you can see the joy on that guy's face when they get that time to really go free with their learning. Next slide, please. And Kayla, if you want to jump in at all and talk when we get to the 6th through 8th grade slides, that would be awesome. This guy on the left, we're super cool. He used 3D modeling, something called Tinkercad, and created this kind of online chess program. And then we've got these young ladies on the right. There was a writing contest. Tracy McKnight really has a love of writing and encouraged kids who are interested in writing to enter contests. And there was children who were published in their story, Scary Tales. Yes, very, very cool. And they are holding the book they were published in, which is super cool. Next slide, please. 6th or 8th grade, this is the Tech Robotics Challenge. Anything you want to add, Ms. Phillips, about the program?
They meet on Wednesday mornings. It's pretty fun to walk in there because they have the opportunity to either do it individually or as groups, and you'll see kind of a diverse fix of what's going to work for them. And at times somebody who did it solo one year is now grouped up with another. Every year they compete at a competition in November, and we've historically won every year, and we're competing against 3 and 4A schools, middle and high school based teams. So these students are utilizing their knowledge. Tracy's giving them the runway, and then they're performing and bringing home some hardware.
Thank you. Next slide, please. Tracy wrote and received a Google grant, for each student. They get this subscription every month, and it has all these amazing challenges around engineering principles that are very hands-on, and the students love those very much. Next slide, please. The high school doesn't have a discrete program that's delivered, but there's many opportunities. Anything you'd want to add, John?
We also have not just these AP courses that are up here, but also students that are interested in other AP courses online we offer. And I think you saw during our work retreat, we had a student get a seal of biliteracy. We had 8 students get seals of biliteracy in Spanish, and we had a student pass with a 3 AP Chinese. So also, I think we need to add in Running Start, especially higher level math classes that we offer. So there's also opportunities to Running Start.
Thank you, John. Next slide, please. So our eligibility process, we screen a universal screening for 2nd and 5th grade, and we use what's called the NNAT3, or the Nagliar Nonverbal Ability Test. That measures cognitive ability, and we'll talk a bit about that in a minute. If they score above 98th percentile on that screening, they're accepted in the program. Or we're also looking now at our iReady diagnostics. So there's multiple ways that we're looking at bringing students into the program. So students who've had 2 scores at or above the 98th percentile in one area. Doesn't have to be both, either reading or math. Next slide, please. So this was interesting as I've learned more about this test, and it's really cool because it tests these skills, but in a very inclusive way. And this is really where OSPI has really focused this year is, are we, well, not just this year, they're moving more and more in that direction, making sure that we're inclusive and equitable as we provide these testing opportunities for students. Next slide, please. And they call it culturally and linguistically neutral. And so it gives opportunities because it minimizes language or any cultural bias. It gives opportunities to students who we wouldn't typically think of in the old days as being able to qualify for these programs. Next slide, please. Here's a quick example, and you can see that they're analyzing patterns. It's nonverbal, again, problem solving, pattern recognition. There's no reading, writing, or spoken language, and it's that visual reasoning. Anybody want to take a guess on this one? Yeah, I think we got this one too. Next slide, please. Again, just talking about equity and inclusion and the importance of this approach that we're able to, and by using the iReady, we're also able to identify students who come in through that academic approach. Next slide, please. HCL at the OSPI level, they have these 5 pillars, and these are those pillars that they're really continuing to develop and enhance the program. And that's one of our goals for next year. Is our team just met in the spring to really enhance our professional development for the folks who are involved in the program. So we're making sure that we're staying current on our programs. Next slide, please. And that's all I have. I just wanted to make sure the board was updated on all the good things that are happening. And if you have any questions, please let me know. I may not be able to answer them, but I will get back to you if I can.
Well, thank you for forwarding the presentation and providing it for us. I really love the fact that the book that the students were selected to be part of, it looked like that was part in our school library now. So their classmates and fellow students can read their writing in published form, which is just a fantastic opportunity.
Thank you for the presentation. I have a question. It's probably in the get back to the board category. You had mentioned previously, or you mentioned earlier in the presentation, seeing more girls qualify for the program. And then one of the last slides was about identifying and addressing gaps. So I'm curious if there are other gaps that are known, or perhaps just a gap in our knowledge of the gaps.
That's an interesting question. One of the things that the team, when we met in the spring, identified is wanting to really dive into the data a little bit more and identify what those gaps are. So when I come back to you next spring, we'll have a more specific breakdown of that, Joe.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Thank you. And I think along the same lines, if it would interest you to report in the spring on whether there's overlap in the Venn diagram between students with IEPs and students in this program, it would interest me to know which students are served by both
Absolutely.
approaches.
Absolutely. Thank you, Marnie.
Specifically, number of students, not which.
I certainly don't need to know which students. I need to know data related to population size. Thank you.
I knew that that's what you meant, but for public consumption, I just wanted to make sure we weren't going to name any
Absolutely.
names.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Good clarity.
Anything else from the board for Ms. Richards? Thank you very much. Okay, looks as if new business is the next item on our agenda. Typically, we have public comment here. I would entertain a motion to move public comment ahead of new business.
I move we move public comment ahead of new business.
Okay, since we're a small board, we do not need a second. Is there any discussion to be had on this? Okay. All those in favor of moving public comment ahead of new business, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, the motion passes. We'll move to public comment. Mr. Macaro, do we have anyone in person?
All right, can you hear me now? I'm gonna hold this thing. I'm too tall. Thank you for the opportunity. couple things. I try to be balanced when I come up here, so there's good and bad. First of all, I was overlooking your goals for the board. I am thrilled to see there's a lot of emphasis on connecting with the staff, supporting the staff. I think that was something that was discovered in the CEE survey, so that's awesome. With that said, as I brought up during the workshop last time, the one line on the goals was improving relationships with your community partners. And I asked for clarification to kind of see what that looked like. And I understand that was mainly with organizations, just as it reflects on the website. A lot of organizations such as Parks and Rec and CADA and that kind of thing, which is great. With that said, I would really encourage you guys to consider encompassing improving relationships with community members and individuals. I kind of see how that could be positive to connect with community partners. But unfortunately, those community partners will probably not bring you more pupils, meaning more students. Having a better relationship, Boys and Girls Club, is definitely beneficial to the district, but it may not necessarily bring you more students, which should be kind of a focus. We usually go up 9 and go down 7 and go up 5 and go down 3. So we're kind of waffling around 2 students new. And it'd be great if there was more focus on connecting with community. As you're aware, we've had a few community meetings. All of you have participated, or some of you have participated. And a lot of the concerns and issues that were brought up at the meeting, a lot of it was just, hey, we don't feel heard. We don't feel like we're connected, whether it be academically, whether it be part of their student experience, however that looks like. So I would say that should be a huge emphasis right there, that there's a disconnect. Marty, you came to one of the meetings, and one of your comments was, I think most of these issues have been addressed. Unfortunately, because we have these community meetings, we have people coming and still saying the same things at all these community meetings, it tells me we still have some work to do. And as well as in the sense of, what does that look like? And that is a conversation I'd really encourage you guys to have. You know, we talk about, evidence-based, like how are we going to show this in a year that we're improving this in a meter system? So I really encourage you guys to add that to your community goals, because as a district as a whole, connecting with homeschool parents, connecting with parents who are coming to the district, that's your audience. That's how we get our numbers up. That's how we get our funding up. So I really encourage, aside from community partners, also encompass community members as large. That would be my encouragement. So thank you.
Thank you for sharing this suggestion. Anyone else?
Very interested in your highly capable program. Reminds me of stuff I took when I entered the Navy a long time ago. The questions I have are, and I think one of them was partially answered. When tested, I heard about the psychologist. Then I wondered if it's possible to be retested. I'm also curious if you can study or cram for a test like that, which I would encourage, to get as many people into that kind of a program as you possibly could. And our transferred students, it sounded like it was done early on in a student's career in the school district. So if students come here and it's not done later on, is there some way to have new students to the district tested to see if they would qualify? The goal I'm after is to get as many kids into it as possible. Then I have another question. At the last meeting, you talked about a use of the Bayview School. And after the meeting, I talked with some of you folks. And I wonder if you have exhausted the clear understanding of the title to that school, because it used to be that it could only be used for educational purposes or words to that effect. I've asked the assessor what the value of the property is, and I have not gotten an answer. What its zoning is, haven't got any answer to those questions, but I'll try to follow up on that. And lastly, I'm curious, what happened to the banners on the tennis court? Thank you.
Thank you for sharing your thoughts. Okay, we will now move on to new business. Our first item of new business is Memorandum 2425-49, approval of the South Whidbey Education Association 25 through 28 contract. I'll pass that over to Dr. Moshe.
Thank you. I am very happy to report that we reached an agreement that was ratified by the membership, and it's in front of the board and on the public screen there. And we were able to accomplish this before the end of my tenure. So very happy that we were able to come together, and I think it's a fair contract, and I strongly encourage the board to approve that contract. And I'll certainly take any questions you may have. The negotiating team for the district was Mr. Field and I, which is the traditional district team, and the teachers had a team of 4 or 5 folks, and we met several times, and here we are.
Thank you. Any comments or questions from the board?
I would just like to thank you and Mr. Field for this work, and thank the negotiators on the other side of the table. And I'm really honored that these folks want to continue working with us at an agreement that's very fair for both sides. Thank you.
Plus one to all of that. I also really appreciate both the district and SWIA's willingness to make this a 3-year contract to give Dr. Clifford the longest possible runway to create those relationships with members of the district before engaging in negotiations with our certificated staff. Any other debate or discussion on this item? We do not have any student reps, so you will not be hearing me asking for student advisor votes in any of these. So all those in favor of approving Memorandum 2425-49, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, please say nay. The memorandum has passed. Second item on the agenda, Memorandum 2425-50, approval of the 2025 through 2028 principals contract. Dr. Mokja.
Once again, we were able to come to the table. This is a 3-year agreement as well, and very little modification to it, a continuation of certain items, and salary schedule in line with the increases that the teachers are also receiving. So once again, I'm really pleased to be able to suggest to the board that you approve this, and I'm really happy that I was able to do it before June 30th.
Any discussion or debate from the board?
No one's counting.
Okay, all those in favor of approving Memorandum 2425-50, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, please say nay. The memorandum passes. Memorandum 2425-51, approval of the 2025-2028 coaches contract. Dr. Moshe.
Thank you. This is actually 2025 to 2030. They asked for a 5-year contract and were exceptionally reasonable. Their 3 of the 5 years are IPD only, and the other 2 follow the same increases as the other 2 contracts. And the only change here is in compensation for postseason. It's a percentage instead of a flat rate, because the flat rate really did not recognize if someone was gone with the team for a week versus a day. So it's now based on time and a percentage. So those are the only changes in this contract. Again, we met over a run together and then sat at the table and did the finer point. So again, a very congenial relationship. So yes, I'm hoping that I've given Dr. Clifford good runway to develop all those relationships.
I appreciate the on-theme nature of negotiations with the coaches, starting with a run. Any comments, debate, or discussion from the board?
Just demystifying acronyms. IPD is implicit.
Implicit price
price.
deflator, it's what OSPI has determined to be their increase in the prototypical school model for each of the salaries that we always go over. So it's basically cost of living, but not quite.
Great. Just want to make sure we demystify acronyms wherever we can. Thank you.
And I don't want to get too far in depth in ongoing negotiations, but do we have an estimated timeline for classified staff?
That's a great question. I've reached out to classified staff since March. They have not come to the table, nor have they provided any dates for potential negotiations. The district is ready to negotiate whenever they may be. That contract stands as is until there's a successor agreement or 1 year from expiration. So those individuals that are covered by the classified contract won't see any raise until the contract is negotiated, ratified, and then approved by the board. So I don't have an answer for you because as of today, I still have no dates on the calendar for any bargaining. The board has obviously indicated that you have a lead bargainer, and so we will continue forward. Anticipate that at some point we'll hear from them as to when they'd like to get together. But as the calendars get tighter and tighter and we get closer and closer to the school year, it gets harder and harder. So once again, I started in mid-March and still don't have a date on the calendar.
Thank you for the update. Any other debate or discussion on this agenda item? All those in favor of approving memorandum 2425-51, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, please say nay. The memorandum passes. Memorandum 2425-52, approval of the 25-26 board goals for the superintendent. These are board goals that for the superintendent that we worked out over the course of a retreat and a workshop. I want to thank the administrators for being present for this and providing both data and input to help us craft these goals and suggesting some ways that we can get more finely tuned and very targeted feedback to use as key indicators and measurements. Appreciate that very much. Any debate or discussion on this item?
I am a little curious about the goal to equity looks like, and whether in order to be more outcome based, we might, if you could scroll up on the on-screen version to the equity looks like statement of goal number 2. In my opinion, equity looks like every student, especially those historically underserved, shows academic growth, increasing resilience, and capacity to succeed in the future they choose. Those are the outcomes, as opposed to equity looks like ensuring, since ensuring is a bit abstract. So I move to revise the statement under goal 2, equity looks like, to read, equity looks like every student, especially those historically underserved, every student, especially those historically underserved, demonstrates academic growth, increasing resilience, and capacity to succeed in the future they choose.
Is there
Just
any,
for logistics, Christy, that document on the screen is not changeable, but you've taken notes, you'll give them to Christy and it will get changed in the document that gets produced.
yes, I just rewrote this and I will reread it before the vote once we've had our discussion on this, to make sure that we're clear on what we're voting on. We do have a motion on the table to amend. Any comments, discussion, or debate on that motion? I appreciate you taking a look at this and making sure it aligned with the other three statements. Okay. All those in favor of changing Goal 2's equity looks like statement to read, equity looks like every student, especially those historically underserved, demonstrates academic growth, increasing resilience, and capacity to succeed in the future they choose. Please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, please say nay. The amendment passes. Christy, I've changed the Google document, so you have access to that updated information. Okay, we now return to the main resolution, or main memorandum, which is the board goals as a whole. Any other comments, questions, or discussion? Dr. Clifford.
I just want, thanks to everybody who participated and the board for partnering and working through this, especially being new for me, the first time going through it with you all, and for the team. I did want to add the comment about committing to connecting with community members. That comment came up during the workshop last week, and that is going to be built into the superintendent entry plan. So that will be happening. So I just wanted to make sure that that's clear. And some of those things are going to happen starting after July 1. So.
Thank you. I know that connecting with the community was going to be a large part of that entry plan. So thank you for clarifying that. I will also note that Dr. Clifford has been working on specific measurements, a document listing specific measurements, and we've seen a early draft form, but I'm very thankful that you've been working on that already with, I assume, with the help of the administrative team and their staff as well. So thank you for getting a jump on that already. Any other comments or questions or debate? Okay.
Just, I want to thank my colleagues for working on this in my absence. I really like what you all have come up with, the high level goals themselves, and also underneath some guidance for the leadership team on how the board wishes these goals to be implemented without getting out of our lane and, making actual like educational and operational decisions. I think this gets right up to the edge of our lane, and it enables us to partner really well with the leadership team in there each of us staying in their lane. So thank you everybody who was at the workshop and retreat.
Excellent. Thank you very much. All those in favor of approving Memorandum 2425-52, approval of the 25-26 board goals, please say aye.
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 Any opposed, please say nay. The memorandum passes. Memorandum 2425-53, approval of Resolution 698, Bond Delegation Resolution, Unlimited Tax General Bonds 2025. Dr. Moshe.
This is Mr. Field's area of expertise, so I will defer to him.
So this is just the resolution to allow us to sell the remaining bonds in preparation for the summer work. It's looking like it's going to be done in just over 2 years, ending in November of 27. So we need the funds. You can see at the high school, the work's already heavily underway, and this just allows us to get the ball rolling so we can sell in September, get the funds landed, and then just have them on hand to be able to spend down the funds. We don't ever want to run into a cash flow problem. This just prevents that. And we have 3 years to spend it before we run into arbitrage problems. So we're well within our range to get this all spent and avoid any tax penalties. So that's why we're here.
Thank you for the details. Any discussion or debate? Thank you, Mr. Field, and anyone else who's been working on this to make sure that it is all on time and on schedule. All those in favor of approving Memorandum 2425-53, please say aye.
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 Any opposed, please say nay. The memorandum passes. Memorandum 2425-54, approval of the 25-26 Chartwell's Renewal Agreement number 2. Dr. Moshe.
Again, I will turn to Paul as he supervises food service.
So this is just the annual renewal Chartwells. We have a 3-year contract with them. This allows Chartwells to increase their fee by the statutory maximum. it's just what we have to do every year with this contract and with the state. So I need it to be approved by the board before I can send it to OSPI for final adoption, because they verify that our food service provider agreements are up and in line with what is required by the state. So yeah, this is part of the annual contract with Chartwells for next school year.
Any debate or discussion among the board?
I just want to acknowledge how much I appreciate the monthly food service newsletters from Shauna and the glimpses into how personal and nourishing the food service is in our district. And I really see the above and beyond service, and I appreciate it.
Agree. On a personal note, my daughter loves many of the meals, and the ones she doesn't, she's a fool for not loving. But she's also a rising fourth grader, so she's going to be picky. I would also like to recognize Shauna as continuing the tradition of Chartwells being very reactive in a positive way to input from the district and the students, and trying to make sure that they have not just nutritious food, but a good experience with meals here in the district.
I'd also just like to give a shout out to Shauna. She stepped into Rachel's role. This was her first year in that role, and she's done a fantastic job. And we miss Rachel, and we want Rachel back from Mercer Island, but not at the expense of Shauna. So we have to have both of them if Rachel comes back.
And I would just add that Chartwells does go above and beyond. Their corporate team was out here today as we prepare for bond work that's going to affect the kitchen in the spring of this coming school year, trying to help us brainstorm how we're going to navigate that between using both the campuses to cook and provide food. But they came out early as we develop a plan of how we're going to be able to keep the food service continuing through the construction process. So they're doing a great job, in my opinion.
Thank you for letting us know that. I love hearing about folks, partners of ours who go above and beyond. Any other debate or discussion on this item? Okay, all those in favor of approving memorandum 2425-54, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, please say nay. The memorandum passes. Memorandum 2425-55, approval of the lease with Murphy and Company Real Estate for Bayview School Building. Dr. Moshe.
Thank you. I did want to answer a question that came up earlier regarding Bayview School and our ability to continue using it. The district actually did investigate several times, but most recently, within the last 5 years, our ability to use the facility like we are now for educational or educationally adjacent support and services. So Goosefoot is currently in there. We have we have a counselor that rents space in there, artists, and Good Cheer especially, and they grow food on the big acre, and that food goes back to our students. So we are able to use it as is suggested through this memorandum. And we do have a folder about this thick of all of the times we've asked for legal counsel on the matter. So this is a temporary rental agreement in this facility. This individual only needs it for a stopgap for a year or two, and we are entering into this MOU hopefully for continued use of the land and the facility, and that historic facility, and then a facility on the land if it comes to fruition. So I'm confident that the district's in a good spot to do this going forward. So.
Thank you for crossing the T's, dotting the I's, and letting us know that you've done so. Any debate or discussion on this item? Okay. All those in favor of approving memorandum 2425-55, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, please say nay. The memorandum has passed. Memorandum 2425-56, approval of the 2025 network upgrade.
Mr. Field now supervises our Director of Technology. And I shared with you at our last meeting the changes we made to our organizational structure. And so with Scott Peacock leaving early, Paul has already started his next responsibility. So with that being said, Paul.
So this purchase is tied to the federal E-rate program. It's to upgrade all the nodes like this Aurora unit up in the ceiling throughout the district. They have a useful life. They're running up to the end of that useful life. So we still haven't got full approval for our E-rate application, but this is preemptively. So once it is approved, we can go forth with the purchase of these items. But again, it's related to the network nodes through the district that allows for the wireless internet through the district.
And Paul, this all comes out of the technology levy money and dollars that it's,
This is actually a federal E-rate grant
Okay.
where E-rate would pay for it. So we make the order through an authorized vendor, then E-rate pays the vendor directly. The hardware is coming to be installed, will arrive here and be installed by our director of technology.
but those grant dollars can't be used for anything else.
Correct.
Thank
Because we don't even get them. They actually flow directly to the vendor that we purchased the items from.
Thank you.
Excellent addition to our knowledge on that. Thank you. Any other debate or discussion?
Yeah, I'll just add that as these units reach end of life, they stop receiving security software updates. And so it becomes an enormous risk to the district, especially because public schools have now become a common ransomware victims. And so it's really important for us to stay on top of keeping both hardware and software up to date.
Thank you, Director Greenhair. You are not a doctor yet. As somebody who went through a very large hack in Lake Washington, we as teachers were not able to turn our computers on for about 5 months because it was going through the network. And so they would get like one building up and then it would go back down. And so we taught without technology for 5 months. So would very much like to avoid that.
Yes, please. Any other debate or discussion? All those in favor of approving Memorandum 2425-56, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, please say nay. The memorandum has passed. Memorandum 2425-57, approval of the 2025 Chromebooks purchase. Dr. Moshe to Mr. Field.
Yeah, this is just we're replacing our fleet or rotating our fleet of Chromebooks. It's done typically every summer as we just keep rotating them through as they get used and abused. So that's what this purchase is for, is just keeping our fleet of Chromebooks up to date.
Can I just say I love the idea of a fleet of Chromebooks?
Does that make Mr. Turner the admiral of Chromebooks?
Yes, indeed.
I would have thought it was a gaggle, so thank you for clarifying.
And murder.
Any other debate or discussion on this item? Okay, all those in favor of approving Memorandum 2425-57, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, please say nay. The memorandum has passed. Memorandum 2425-58, approval of the superintendent to engage in an MOU with Island Roots Housing regarding the Bayview property. Dr. Moshe?
So this follows up on our meeting last week when Island Roots Housing came in and we discussed the Bayview property and the potential for feasibility. And all this MOU will do is allow the cooperative relationship between the district and Island Roots Housing, no expense to the district, but it allows Island Roots Housing to move forward to investigate whether there's feasibility there.
Thank you. Any debate or discussion on this item?
Just a note that for interested members of the public, this was discussed in more depth at our previous meeting last time.
Including a full proposal from Island Roots Housing, yeah.
Yes.
I would just add that I was in a housing meeting earlier today with the county, and we were discussing the immense need for housing. And a number that was shocking to me is part of what we look at around housing is how cost burdened people are. And ideally, people should be spending no more than 30% of their income on their housing. And in both Coupeville and the South End, over 60% of our homeowners in this community are over that threshold. And not by a little bit, they're well into the 40 to 50% of their income going to housing. So I appreciate the that Island Roots wants to explore this. I appreciate that Island Roots is an organization that I think is very values aligned with the district. And I'm looking forward to what they find.
Agree entirely. And I just also want to observe that, you know, I didn't grow up here, but I grew up in another very small, very tight-knit area. And I understand the emotional value of old buildings. And as they start to continue to get old, they lose their spark when they don't have anyone protecting and stewarding them. And I cannot think of a better group than Island Roots to, you know, bring life and keep life in that building and that property. So I'm excited about this.
Dr. Clifford, as the superintendent who'd be executing this MOU, do you have anything you'd like to add?
I concur with all of the things that were stated by the board. I thank Dr. Moshe for getting this set in motion, and I look forward to continuing this process.
Thank you. Anything else from the board? All those in favor of approving Memorandum 2425-58, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, please say nay. The memorandum has passed. Only two left, don't worry. Memorandum 2425-59, approval of Resolution 699, designating Superintendent Dr. Rebecca Becky Clifford as the Secretary of the Board of Directors. This is a formality, but
This is a formality. I found it out by happenstance in another district. And so I just, it's good to just be very clear that the superintendent is the board secretary. So there's your resolution that adopts that.
I'm taking this as a clerical note, just making sure that Clifford is spelled correctly in the actual memorandum, because it is not in the agenda, but yes, it is. Okay. Any debate or discussion on this item? All those in favor of approving Memorandum 2425-59, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, please say nay. The memorandum has passed. The last one, Memorandum 2425-60, approval of additional funds for the superintendent professional development. Dr. Clifford, I'll pass this one to you.
Thank you. Part of the transition and in preparation for this year was exploring a mentorship relationship and a coach. And our state organization, WASA, didn't identify for me, but brought in Donna Marie, I should have her name in front of me. Cozine. And she has been doing coaching nationwide, large and small, rural and urban, across the board, and is very effective. And she not only focuses on really good skills around leadership, but also around self-care and the balance. She doesn't call it balance, she calls it harmony in this work. And so this is, any mentorship or coach is going to be a little bit above 7,000. I do not think it's going to be 20,000, but based on the samples she gave, I just estimated based on that. And I know she is open for negotiation. So I'm asking for this so that then I can get it down to what it is and just have the buffer.
So I just want to add that I also heard her as a speaker, but besides that, our budget can accommodate this professional development funding based on the what we know and Title II funds that are still coming through. So I wouldn't, not that I have any power here, but I wouldn't hesitate to support Becky in this, because I think it's exactly what the board thought about when it thought about hiring a superintendent that perhaps didn't have experience as a superintendent. And I think this is, if Becky wants it, I think I couldn't recommend it more highly.
I would just add that I feel like this cost is going to be a drop in the bucket compared to the value of Dr. Clifford's success and longevity and effectiveness in the role. So any ease that we can provide for the on-ramp into a long career with South Whidbey School District is going to be money well spent, in my opinion.
I appreciate your note that this would be a maximum, that you don't expect it to cost this much, because I know that while it is a drop in the bucket for a long-term investment, it is significant in the cost of doing business in the district. Having seen what can come up in the first year of a superintendent's term and the need for an experienced mentor, I think that this is incredibly valuable and well worth the cost. Any other debate or discussion?
I just wanted to add appreciation because our role as a board is to support the superintendent, and sometimes sometimes I don't know how to do that, and so this makes it very clear what you need, and so you're helping us help you by articulating it very clearly. So I really appreciate that.
My question is always whether or not Paul's comfortable with it, and Paul's giving me a thumbs up. So.
All those in favor of approving memorandum 2425-60, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, please say nay. The memorandum passes, and that completes our new business for the evening. We will move on to reports, and our first one is financial enrollment report. Mr. Field.
Christy's going to drive for me, which is perfect. Okay. So to our familiar enrollment report, the kiddos stuck with us all year, which was great news. So we ended the year 48.9 FTE over our budget, which is fantastic news. About 20 kids over last year. So slight uptick. We've gone over where those kids came from, and they just stuck all year. So hooray. Next one here is just our chart. So we're that green line, and 23-24 is the red line. So you can see we're above it all year long. Very familiar all year long. The black line at the bottom was our budgeted number for the year. Same familiar report of the bar graph by month. Like you can see, the students stuck with us the whole year long. No surprise there. And this again is the familiar by grade. So you can see where the kiddos go and follow the red line to the green line year over year. You can see how the cohorts changed, and it stuck true through the year that between third and fourth grade is where we picked up a lot of those students that were higher than budget. So next is, Jonah, any questions on enrollment before I move on to financials?
I know that there are a wide variety of reasons, but I'm so very happy to see that the, at least for this year, that has held, that the increase in enrollment to stop at least that 25-year trend has held. So
yep, for sure. So this is showing 75% through the year, 77% of the revenue, and 76% of the expenditures. This doesn't include encumbrances. This is just the straight spend. In the right-hand corner, our spend line's been kind of bouncing all over the place. That's just tied to MSOCs and things that have come up for the year, one-year purchases and things of that nature. It makes expenses always kind of just hop over depending on timing of payment of insurance and things of that nature. So this is our with encumbrances. So with MSOCs, we're under budget. Payroll's gone over, but we've hired folks through the year with the increased enrollment. And teacher mid-year for K-3 compliance, which is part of that. In general, we are bumping right up against our total expenditure allowance per the budget. So I will be asking to do a budget extension in our July budget meeting. We did the same thing last year. We ended up coming in under, but it just gets uncomfortably tight. And the penalty for going over is really just a letter to OSPI, but I'd rather not write that letter. Just get a extension on our budget so we can finish the year. And if we do go over slightly, we did have a couple large unforeseen things that came up this year that we had to pay for out of general fund. We've discussed those in prior meetings, but that's the main cause. If we do need to use the budget extension, what caused those items? So,
and Paul, I know we have this conversation one-on-one, but can you just clarify for the record, like when you say a budget extension, what's the dollar amount you're asking for?
So I haven't determined that 100%, but it'd be upwards of $100,000 or $500,000 would be the extension. When I went through our revenue, roughly we're anticipating around $700,000 more revenue than budgeted. So we'll still be within what our budget use of fund balance or lack thereof is. It just gives me that cushion. It's our encumbrance database is hard to comb through at times, like what are we actually not going to spend? But I'll be doing that work in July as teachers are done buying stuff for the current school year, closing down their POs, and that encumbrance percentage will continue to shrink. But just between a lot of the other things we have going on, mainly the budget for next year, it's just making the time to do that.
And so just to kind of clarify, when we have the budget, that's the budget that we set on our predicted enrollment numbers.
Correct.
And we went almost 50 kids above that. So we hired staff to serve those students.
Correct.
We also have POs where, similar to what we just approved for Dr. Clifford, we have a PO for 20,000. It might only cost 12, but we won't know that until that PO closes and the final bill has been spent. And so we are adjusting for the increase in revenue. We would be accounting for the staffing, and the encumbered costs of the POs would be decreasing over that.
Correct.
Awesome. Thank you.
I appreciate the care that you've taken to not only come in what looks like will be right on the expenditures, but also make sure that if it does happen to go a little over, we're covered and that we're still staying under our revenue, which is amazing in this day and age in education in Washington.
I think just to add to that, everybody's doctors today, Director Williford, it wouldn't be that we would be covered. It's just we're adjusting the actual numbers.
Yes, covered in that we do not have to send a letter to OSBI.
Exactly.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, so I'll point it out when we get to the budget status, because we were budgeted to use fund balance. Then we're going to be less than that budgeted number, but still need to, because the state sets our capacity to spend, not our capacity to receive revenue. So we have to adjust that capacity to spend so we don't get into conversations with OSPI and the auditors.
In keeping with your everyone's a doctor, I concur.
Yeah, I just want to thank you for being adaptive and staying on top of the paperwork side of responding to change. And, as my fellow board members have acknowledged, you're spot on with these financial resources and your ability to report these minutia to us with clarity and with the information we need to make good decisions. I just so appreciate all of it. Thank you. And I know you took on a lot this year with supporting our students to become more effective stewards of their resources and with bond work. And it sounds like you have a few more managerial hats on. So thank you.
Yeah, appreciate it. Thank you. So this is our just revenue and expenditure curve. Our green line of revenue is just following the historical trend, slightly above. And then you see the red line of our expenditures is kind of bouncing around above our last year's trend. But you can see some of those upticks where we had on it unanticipated or unusual expenditures early in the year that kind of jumped that number up. And so this is just our revenue by resource. So local property taxes, our local revenues are rental and food service and classroom fees and things of that nature. State general purposes are state apportionment. Special purposes are largely our special ed funding from the state. And then our federal special purpose, which you can see has really fallen off since of the COVID ESSER dollars. And one thing to note for next month is the state is holding back some of the June apportionment as part of their budget saving capacities. It didn't have a major effect on us. It's going to cause any cash flow problems, but for other folks that have LEA, it really did. So if you hear about that, we did have an impact, but it's not material to our operations. We will weather that June storm and get it back in July. So here's our expenditures year to date. The certificated salaries and classified salaries is our largest cost, and employee benefits. Some upticks in supply costs this year. Services, we have some out-of-state placements as the large driver of that increase in services. And then travel has been not material to our plan. It's always the smallest item. It is up a little bit this year, but we've sent a few more people to conferences this year. Fund balance projections is just following the historical trend. Because of that June payment or holdback from apportionment, it will fall off more in June compared to last year, just foreshadowing to see that to come. But we expect it to bounce right back in July. So I would expect it to swing back above the number in July as our percentage continues to stay in the low 20% fund balance. So this is the annual, this is the report that's required to give the board the budget status. And I apologize, it doesn't subtotal for the amount of, under the annual budget for the general fund, how much fund balance we're going to use or intending to use. But this is the statutory report updated through May.
I've said it before, but I just continue to wonder that at the fact that this is what's required and everything prior is what you present us, and appreciate that greatly.
But you can see on this in the lower right-hand corner that we have $173,000 of capacity, but I've already looked forward into June and it's just really, really tight. As we close out June, it's going to be right up against it with encumbrances. So we'll continue to work through that and move forward with the budget extension just so we don't run into problems.
I think, Paul, if I'm remembering correctly, wasn't it like $850 last year?
Yeah, it was close. It was like
It was like-
80,000, but when the last time you saw it in August, it was like barely going over.
Yeah.
But it's part of the year-end process because we capture some expenditures in the general fund that ultimately get paid by the capital fund, but that doesn't happen until I'm closing the year in September. And when after all that was dusted, settled, it was down to like $80,000 under.
So I just want to like capture that of you put together a $22 million budget and you made it within like $1,000. Yeah. On magical numbers that you predict 4 months before school starts.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Thank you. And so this is the summary of our other funds. Now that you see the activity at the high school and elementary school, I don't know if you've looked at the playground. They demolished the old structure today. Once we start getting those pay applications from Integris and Absher, we're really going to see this spend start wrapping up. There's a little over a dozen guys there this week. They're expecting about 4 times as many workers on site on Monday. So they're really going to start tearing into the roof and getting after things here in the next several weeks. So stay tuned for that. And with that, do we have any questions?
I think we covered everything during. Thank you very much. We do not have a student board members report, so board comments and report. Any board members who'd like to make commentary?
Dr. Moshe, is this our last board meeting together?
As a matter of fact, it is.
It's been an incredible honor. I feel like I've learned so much from you, not just about education, but also about life and how to human well. So thank you. I feel like you've taken on the burden not only of being of tremendous service in a high pressure job, but also being a public facing person in a small community, which is a mixed blessing and sometimes a burden beyond what any person should bear. But I just so admire how you've served the students and families of this district, how you've served me and my family, and how you've related with me as a colleague in this work. So I hope you sail a lot, play a lot, craft a lot, and hang out with me whenever you have a spare minute.
That's my intention. So we do have another.
Oh, I was just gonna just +1. Very well put. And as the newest member of the board, I couldn't have asked for a better superintendent to work with as I was learning how to be a board member. So thank you so much for everything.
Yeah, we've laid a lot of plaudits at Dan Pullman's feet for teaching us about school finance, and I have learned a great deal about you a great deal from you about school administration and about how to be both functional and effective as a board. And I appreciate that very much. I want to recognize the years and years that you've given to this district, and thank you for it, and for continuing to work on always bettering yourself throughout that entire time. I think that growth mindset is something that we want to see in our students and in our staff, and to see it in the superintendent is a fantastic example to set. Thank you.
I would just like to say +1 to everything that everybody else has said. But I also just wanted to thank you for weathering this job for as many years as you did. And it is not an easy job to weather.
Don't scare Becky. She hasn't started
Oh,
yet.
she knows what she's jumping into. I really have, I've learned a huge amount from you. And I also just really want to thank you for standing by this district, especially through COVID, and especially the last few years when you could have retired and you didn't retire because you stuck with us through to make sure that this district was handed off. You put together a beautiful package for Dr. Clifford to inherit. 3 contracts settled by her first day, a fund balance of 20% when all but 7 of our 35 districts in our region are not financially sound. You have an amazing administrative team that you've put together, you've built. You replaced your assistant soup with an amazing, what's your new title, Paul? Executive Director of
Business and
Business-
operations.
Business and Operations. This was a very sought after position because of how you wanted to leave and hand the district over. And you very well could have said, hey, it's my last year, I'm done. And you did not. You've worked every single minute of this. And I think that's also evident in the transition that you've put together with Dr. Clifford. It's really incredible what we are handing off. And I feel like I need ship references. The helm is being passed in an incredible way. And I really want to thank you for that.
+1 to everything. And also just know how deeply I appreciate your professionalism, how deeply I appreciate your heart. And I just wish you so many new adventures in the future. Thank you so much for your service.
Thank you. Well, I don't often get speechless, but I just want to say, first of all, that, and I mean this sincerely, this is a very, very functional board. And the idea that the superintendent and the board can work together so effectively, despite when we get criticized for that. I think it's really important that we hold to the goals and the mission and the vision. But truly, it's no longer about me. It's about all of the folks back there who are holding the district in their hands. And I have to say that Becky and I have come to work together for some 20 days, and you did a really good job in vetting and picking the right person to take the helm, because Becky really has amazing good sense and the confidence of the team, and everything she needs is within her. So click your heels 3 times and say, anyway, can we get on to that next agenda item?
I do want to note that we don't actually have a superintendent report on this.
I do have a superintendent's report.
Yes, let's do that first.
So I do have a superintendent's report. The school year finished actually very well, and folks were forced out of their homes at the high school on that last day because movers came and moved them out, and we shut down the building so that it could really start the transition. If you go over to the elementary school, as Paul said, there is now a retention pond where there was a forest. And there will be all kinds of things to admire when we get back in the fall, which is only 2 months away. There are a lot of things that are continuing to go on. But if you're looking for your admin team, they're all over in the district office at little folding tables and computers. And so anyway, the folks that are here are flexible. They're competent, they care deeply, and I can't thank the board enough for allowing for us to have a goal around logistics to transition, because I think it is a model. And it's not something that happens in every district. And I know that for a fact. So, addressing the banners. That was a question that also came up tonight. They were vandalized. They were removed by unknown folks. And the students have every intention of replacing them, and will do so once they can get them printed and have the ceremony to raise the banners again. They were adamant that basically you can destroy our banners and vandalize our schools, but you can't stop us from treating each other equitably and including everyone. And so I'm proud of them for that. And you'll be proud to know that if I have any agenda to be a human being, it's that I will say with my voice that all of our kids matter. The kids who are from traditionally marginalized groups, kids who are gay or transgender or of color or socioeconomically deprived or whatever may be the obstacles or benefits that they experience, we care about them. And so that's what's happening with the banners. But I don't know when. And I will do everything I can to be here when they do it. But it really will take some time. Just that last agenda item.
Thank you very much.
Holding me back.
You're
But
very
you got
excited
one
to get
more?
onto this.
Very quick note, not to be a stickler, but as a professional environmental watchdog, I want to clarify that there's a retaining pond where once there was an overgrown, forgotten retaining pond that had been heavily encroached upon by vegetation.
Steve Marney, that's why I admire you, because you say it in a way that you can take the kid out of New York, but you can't take the New Yorker out of the kid. Yeah, that's what happened. And now it's back. And retention ponds are important because water management is important for the environment. And that water management was not happening appropriately because the forest encroached.
Yes, I love a good aquifer recharge capacity increasing strategy.
Okay, the last item on our agenda.
Thank you, Director Williford.
For the public portion of the meeting is the swearing in of our new superintendent, Dr. Becky Clifford. Would you come on up?
So I really am very proud to take a minute and officially transition. I think symbolism is really important. And I think that Becky and I have modeled that. If you were at the district office, you would see that I no longer occupy the office. It has her name on the door, her cards on the desk. I've taken an office in the back, and I followed the model that Dan left for me because he did the same thing. I think for different reasons, though. He gave it all to Paul and walked away. No, I'm just kidding. So Becky, would you raise your right hand, please, and repeat after me? You good?
Yeah.
All right. I, Dr. Becky Clifford, do hereby solemnly swear
I, Dr. Rebecca Becky Clifford, do hereby solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of Washington,
and the Constitution of the State of Washington,
and I will faithfully discharge the duties
and I will faithfully discharge the duties
of Superintendent of Schools
of Superintendent of Schools
of the South Whidbey School District Number 206,
of the South Whidbey School District Number 206,
Island County, State of Washington, to the best of my ability.
Island County, State of Washington, to the best of my ability.
Congratulations.
Thank you. And my Jean did.
I'm handing you the keys.
So much. Thank you. Is it okay if I say just something? Sure. Wait. I know.
If you can get it done before she gets out the door.
I wouldn't leave her now.
Okay, perfect. Okay.
You know, and that chair's probably just the right size, isn't it?
Yes, it really is. There are a lot of similarities and we also have a lot of differences, but we complement each other very well. I just wanted to, first of all, thank the board again and Dr. Moshe for setting this transition in motion. And the team has been incredible, and I've been able to meet a number of staff members. I got to visit the community center yesterday. I think it was yesterday. Equity team, council, team members, and just to name a few, there's been many. And one of the things that I really wanted to say is that that you are so humble, and in the 14 years, this is sometimes a very unthankful job. I don't know, but I know. That so many things that have been shared in the time that I have had these conversations of the work that you have done. The community center, you had to transition and close school buildings. That's a hard thing to do. And you made something beautiful out of that by having this vision of bringing the community center together and bringing people in places. And I think that's one example of a number, so many things that you have led. And you have created spaces for your teams to rise and to run with the ball, or have ideas and then run with the ball. And you acknowledge and reflect and honor each of your team members. And no matter what, every single time I'm in a meeting, there's always next steps, and they always say, and we've come this far. And I just do want you to know that there has always been recognition of so much work that you have done. And so you don't always hear that. Most of the time, we never hear that. And right, you always hear the negative oftentimes and not the positive. But you have done so much in these last 14 years. And I've had the small window, just a small glance and pleasure into just hearing that and receiving that. And I'm so grateful for the foundation that you have laid, the team that you have built. I'm so lucky and grateful for that. And I'm so looking forward to taking South Whidbey and stepping into this next chapter. So thank you for this torch, passing of the torch, and for everything that you have done to really lay the foundation and for a successful transition. And for the work that you've done over the 14 years, putting students at the center every single moment of every single day. Thank you.
Welcome to the center of the big table. This meeting will now go into executive session for the purpose of superintendent evaluation under RCW 42.30.1101G, lasting no longer than 30 minutes. No action will be taken during that time, and the meeting will be adjourned afterwards. Thank you and good night.